Our travel agent was right. When we used her to book one of Holland America's new standby fares about 2 weeks ago, she lamented this would not be a good program for most of her customers. Why, we asked. Because my customers won't take the time to figure out how the program works. They hear what they want to hear. Then I'll get blamed for their problems because they signed up for something they don't understand. Following that, I published a video explaining in detail how the program works. I thought it was quite clear. If you want to check out that video, click here. But since then, I've fielded a constant barrage of comments showing people really don't understand. So today, I'm going to explain 4 huge misconceptions about the program. Number 1, standby is not the same as waitlist. This is often confused on chats. Holland America has 2 different programs for people waiting to be assigned cabins on a cruise. The Waitlist program has been around for years. Serves an entirely different purpose from the newer standby program. Let's give an example. Let's say you've picked a cruise that you want, but you have a specific want or need for a cabin. Perhaps you need an accessible cabin and they're all sold out. Maybe you're traveling solo and you want one of the very few solo cabins that are on Holland America. Maybe you want a specific suite. In these cases, you can request to be waitlisted for the type of cabin that you want. How this works is you pay a deposit, not the whole amount of the cruise, for that specific cabin. The rate is not discounted. It's simply, if your requested cabin becomes available, you get notified and are able to book it. Once you book the cabin, everything reverts to normal. If your cabin never becomes available, your reservation is canceled and your money refunded. If you change your mind, and this is important, while you're waiting, you can move your deposit to another cruise, get a refund. You're not committed in any way. Let's put these side by side with a standby cruise. For this fare, the standby, you have no choice of cabin. And you don't pay a deposit. You pay the full price of the cruise up front, including taxes and port fees. The rate is discounted steeply at $49 per day. You'll not hear anything until between 7 and 2 days before the trip. If no cabin becomes available, your payment will be refunded. If you change your mind and don't go when you're notified, you lose the entire fare, regardless of the reason for which you cancel. As you can see by this comparison, it's very dangerous to confuse these 2 Holland America programs. Make sure you know what you're talking about and what you're booking before you call. Number 2, the standby program applies to selected cruises out of 8 North American ports. No, there are no sailings out of any other continent. Yes, there are a few sailings out of 3 Canadian ports: Vancouver, Montreal, Quebec. Most sailings are from 5 U.S. ports: Whittier, Alaska, Seattle, San Diego, Fort Lauderdale, and Boston. Now you'll note that these are in the 4 corners of the United States, and they involve a significant travel distance for most Americans. HAL markets this as designed for people who are within easy 1-day driving distance from the port. This fare is non-refundable for any reason, so people outside those parameters need to be very good planners with a highly reliable Plan B. They also need to be responsible for their choice to use the program in ways it was not intended. Most of the discussions I've seen in the last couple of weeks involve people flippantly trying to figure out ways to book cancelable airfare to make this work for longer distances. Make sure you consider late and canceled flights, hotel accommodations, etc. HAL is not going to be responsible for the, gee, I didn't think that would happen, life and travel mishaps. Number 3, plan on notification 48 hours in advance, or even less. HAL says you'll be notified between 7 days and 2 days before sailing. Since I published my original information, I've heard from about a half a dozen people who've made a standby booking and then were accepted on the ship. They were notified in every case 2 days beforehand. This makes sense. Holland America doesn't want to sell these cabins at this most discounted rate. In the last week, they'll try to do what they can to fill cabins at prevailing rates. Chances are that at the day 7 mark, cabins are all taken. But then life happens, and this is what you're in line to cover. For planning purposes, you should plan on knowing only 2 days prior. In one case, a person reported they were told 48 hours in advance that no cabins were still available. But since she was already at the port area, they advised she could wait until departure day and check back. Sure enough, someone canceled on the actual departure date, and she was able to walk on board. Now that is last minute. Finally, number 4, singles don't have to pay a double rate. A lot of discussion about this. A great deal of that discussion revolves around whether singles can participate in the program and how. HAL is very clear that singles can make a standby booking for one person. We've had correspondence with multiple singles who were able to book a standby cabin without paying the double rate that's normally required if you travel solo. This makes it an even better deal for a solo traveler. My wife and I have booked 2 of these trips. We'll track each step of our experience on this channel, as well as continue to provide in-depth coverage of other cruises as well. If you appreciate content similar to this, please like and subscribe. Much of what I've learned about the program in the last 2 weeks has come from comments people have made on this channel and on Facebook and real-life experience. We would love to hear what your experiences have been, either good or bad. Please leave comments below. Until next time, safe travels. I thought it was quite clear. Try again. If you want to see Number 2, the standby program applies to selected cruises